so we're rolling?
Yeah, let me... I'll tell you what, I'll just hold it.
Yeah. All right. So basically what we've been talking about today are scales, intervals, and chords. And you can kind of break music up in all three ways. You can look at scales as just notes. That's mixolydian. If I looked at mixolydian on one string, mixolydian is... So it differs from the major scale in that the mixolydian mode has a flatted seventh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. The half steps occur between the third and the fourth, and between the sixth and the flat 7. It's important to know that, because then you can start to do things like... Okay, that's fine. And that's a sound of... Mixolydian, you could say, is a sound of an A7, or even better, the sound of an A7 sus4. We determined earlier that Franklin's Tower, the A, G, D, is really the sound of A mixolydian, because all of those chords are found in the D major scale. And the significance of that is there's two ways to look at modes. One way is to look at the parent scale. That's a D major scale. Mixolydian would be a D major scale starting from the fifth. Another way to look at modes, which I think is maybe more useful for reasons I'll get into down the road, is what I've heard people refer to as parallel thinking. And that would be, how does A mixolydian differ from an A major scale? In other words, we know mixolydian is the major scale from the fifth, but why don't we just compare A mixolydian to an A major scale? And the answer is, there's A major, and if I flat the seventh, I get mixolydian. So that's good to know. Then I talked about practicing scales in thirds. It's just simple mathematical sequences. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6. Or descending. When you practice things like that, it's worth being aware that all the intervals are either going to be major thirds, which is 2 whole steps, or minor thirds. Make sense? Then we talked about how rather than go, once you get a certain amount of technique together, you can start playing with the time. Maybe start on the end of 1, 3, 4, 1. Or maybe just play without a click and just go. Starts to sound more like music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we were talking about how, you know, like this kind of vocabulary that people play. Where is that coming from? Two ways to look at it, I think. Look at it from the notes of the scale: root, second, third, fourth, fifth. Root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, flat 7. Put them together. Third, root, fourth, second, fifth. Just taking each note up to the next note of the scale. And then we talked about understanding the harmony within the scale. And today we just looked at 3-part chords, triads. In the major scale, the way major scale harmony works, the 1 chord, the 4 and the 5 are major, the 2, 3, 6 chord are minor, and the 7th, the chord built off the 7th scale degree, is diminished. So here's a major scale harmonized. part I like. Minor, minor, major, major. So there's a lot you can do with this stuff. It starts to sound a little more interesting and more like music. And again, everything I just played was out of this scale. Because I was using chords, I'm getting into wider intervals. The one more thing I wanted to mention that I skipped was we were talking about scales and thirds, which is every other note. If I do the same kind of thinking in pentatonic scales, here's a major pentatonic, or if I do every other note, it becomes. I could go back to a mixolydian mode, and instead of playing thirds, I could do fourths. Sounds. If I do the same thing in the pentatonic, that's how we came up with this lick. Which, if I want to look at it from here, with this. That's from the fifth. A. It's like going. So here's that line again. This is just coming out of skipping two notes, or no, skipping one note in the pentatonic. And here it is reversed. And then I explain that once I find something I like, I quit thinking about what all the numbers are, and I just go, like if I was playing this lick, that note is E. E is the fifth of A. I'll try to find a chord voicing. Like here's an A chord here. Or here's an A here. I just try to attach a shape to a chord that I'm familiar with. Here we go. So I just try to find a chord, and then I just learn the lick. It's the same thing as going. That fits there, right? So then if I'm playing here, you know, we don't think about all the theory behind it, right? We just learn how to move it.
Right.
Same thing with these new patterns. Sense? Mm-hmm. So when I'm playing stuff like Brown Eyed Girl, I could be thinking, well, okay, root, second, third, fourth, fifth, or I could be going A, B. Well, actually, it could be A, B. It could be A major, B minor, and C sharp diminished. If I'm just playing this note and this note, I'm playing the third and the root of each triad. So these notes are going to be in both C sharp minor or C sharp diminished, so it doesn't even matter so much. I guess what I'm saying is I'm playing incomplete chords. So sometimes the notes are going to be the same depending on what you're leaving out. So it's good to look at scales on one string sometimes to understand the architecture. That's mixolydian. Mixolydian is very different from major. Here's major. Just changing that one note makes it sound like rock, or like the Swamp, or like blues. So let me make some pictures for you.
Cool.